Good morning and welcome to our second BCSR Zoomie for the Door County Scotty Rally. I want to encourage all of you to put yourselves on mute if you would be so kind to do so. My name is Michelle Geiger-Bronski. I am the founder and president of the Door County Scotty Rally, which has been a 24-year labor of love here. So we're excited that you're going to be joining us. Before we get started with turning over the presentation to our esteemed speaker, I want to remind you about a couple of things. We are recording this session. It will be posted on our website probably by the end of the day tomorrow, which is Sunday. And by being on the session, unless you want to block your picture out, you acknowledge that it's okay for you to be recorded, etc. Two other things I want to remind you of really quickly. Registration for the Door County Scotty Rally, the actual event, is going to be closing in about 2 weeks. So if you've not looked at what that program is going to entail, you can go to our website, doorcountyscottyrally.org, and just scroll down and you'll see the page where you have to click on, and it'll take you to a great informational program. And then the third thing is, for those of you that are in the audience that have a Scottish Terrier, I want to ask you please to consider contributing a sample of your dog's blood to the Health Trust Fund of the STCA DNA Bank Project. I keep posting that information on Facebook. I'm reaching out. I spend most of my days reaching out to people, trying to educate them about this. And for that reason, I still don't have my taxes done yet. I'm in for another extension this year. So if you need any information about that, please reach out to us, and I'll be happy to answer that question for you. So I am going to turn things over to Cari Tetzlaff, who is going to do a fabulous presentation on calm and confident care. And I will admit, I need it. If there's nothing that tells you how strong particularly Scotty is, it's when you try to do their nails. So take it away, Cari.
Thank you so much, Michelle. So I'm Cari Tetzlaff. I own and operate Better Together Animal Training in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and I serve the Fox Valley area up to Green Bay, down south to Fond du Lac, west to Watoma. I have a pretty big service area. Just a little bit about my credentials. I'm a fear-free certified trainer. I'm a certified dog behavior consultant through the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants. I'm a Karen Pryor Academy grad, and I have my certified professional dog trainer knowledge assessed. And I'm sharing this because, not to toot my own horn, but to connect you with other organizations that certify trainers. So if you need help with your dog at home, my presentation is certainly not designed to give you everything you need to know about cooperative care training, but just to give you kind of a taste of what this training can look like. If your dog does have serious anxiety or stress associated with their body handling, vet visits, grooming appointments, there's professionals that can help you. So just wanted to share a little bit of what organizations you might want to look at with folks that could help. The focus in my consulting practice is to help dogs with fear, anxiety, and stress. That oftentimes means dogs that have aggressive behaviors as well. I don't do puppy classes. I don't compete in dog sports. I have 2 left feet, so I have so much respect for those of you who, oh my gosh, my cats are going to give you a show. They're doing a run and chase game in the background. So for me, my focus really is on helping animals with everyday training challenges and trying to keep them in their homes. I have a sheltering background. I worked at the Oshkosh Area Humane Society for over a decade, most recently as the behavior department manager there. And I have had 4 Chihuahuas. So sometimes people are interested in what breed of dog a trainer has. Kind of an unconventional pick for a dog trainer. I've had several Chihuahuas and I love them very much. That's a photo of my Chihuahua Tater. He was diagnosed with a panic disorder from a veterinary behaviorist, and he had a long cooperative care journey. So I thought about him a lot when I was making this presentation and wanted to share. I am right there with you, Michelle. I have needed this training too. I have needed to work through this with my own animals. And I know the stress associated with having challenging vet visits or grooming challenges with a dog. So what is cooperative care training? It's kind of a new term. Honestly, a lot of guardians aren't super familiar with it. Cooperative care training teaches dogs to be active and willing participants in their own care. It's a shift away from thinking about care as something we do to an animal and something we do with the animal. So that's how I like to kind of explain that to my clients is we are working collaboratively with our animal. We are trying to get their buy-in. We are trying to build authentic comfort so animals can be willing participants in their own care rather than feeling like it's something being done or forced on them or they're being coerced into it. Obviously, there are some care tasks that are not optional for our animals. We have to take care of their care. And sometimes that may be something that we have to do that they don't enjoy. But the goal here is to try to introduce them to care tasks in a way that can make them feel more comfortable throughout their life. And this type of training was really pioneered by people that work with wild species in zoo settings. A lot of us have our own feelings about zoos, but I have to really thank the trainers that work with captive species in zoos for creating many techniques that can help our dogs and cats have more comfortable vet care too. So I wanted to share a short video clip from the Toronto Zoo, just kind of showing you the type of training that has influenced the training we can do with our dogs and cats.
Hello, my name is Hannah and I'm one of the wildlife health technicians at your Toronto Zoo. We have received our COVID-19 vaccines for animals developed and donated by Zoetis. We have started vaccinating some of our most susceptible animals. The vaccine is given in 2 doses about 2 to 3 weeks apart. I think one of the main questions you might be curious about is how do we vaccinate some of these animals we might not get close to, like lions and tigers? The thing to keep in mind is that our animals are trained to participate voluntarily in their own health care. The COVID-19 vaccine for animals may be new, but receiving vaccinations from our vet tech team is a process many of our animals are already familiar and comfortable with. The wildlife care team devotes a lot of time and care to training the animals to voluntarily present an area of the body, such as an arm, a tail, or a hip, for a pretend poke, and as a reward, they receive their favorite treat. One of the most important aspects in this process is that the animal can walk away at any time. It is completely up to them whether they want to participate or not. Some days are more successful than other days, and that's okay. By giving the animals the option to participate in their own health care, it allows us to monitor their health more closely and efficiently, without causing any undue stress or disruption to their regular routine. It's not specific to vaccines either. Some animals may require additional healthcare maintenance, like hoof trimming. Others may be aging, for example, and require routine x-rays to monitor a condition. It takes a lot of time and dedication, but putting the effort and care into establishing trust with the animals the keepers work with every day goes such a long way to helping us help them stay nice and healthy. Administering the vaccine is a lengthy process since we have about 120 animals to vaccinate. As mentioned, animals that have been trained for injections have the choice not to participate, which means we try again another day. Once they have received the vaccine, our wildlife care staff will monitor them closely. We can confirm that since 2021, when zoos in the US began vaccinating their animals, there have been no significant adverse effects reported. As for determining which animals are receiving the vaccine, we made these decisions based on the COVID-19 sensitivity list that is.
I'm going to pause it there.
Hello,
When
my name
I
is Hannah.
first saw this video, my thought was, oh my gosh, what a challenge as a trainer to have to vaccinate hundreds of animals overnight and to get this directive that we have to take care of these tasks on a timeline. And how amazing that these animals have received this type of training ahead of time to make this task manageable, to be able to get it done, and that it could be done with animals that are willing participants that don't all have to be sedated. We don't want to get into a wrestling match with a tiger, right? Like it is not safe to pin a tiger down and give them a vaccination against their will. But that is kind of the way we get a lot of our medical done with our companion animals. And I say that with absolute love and respect for our veterinary community. They do an amazing job helping high volumes of animals come through their doors. without being able to necessarily control the way that the animals have learned about vet care at home prior to the vet appointment. So it just brings up for me when I see zoo animals receiving this kind of training, it brings up for me questions about why can't we do more with our dogs and cats to help prepare them for vet care, and what options do we have at home to help make a vet visit as comfortable as possible, or for nail care or teeth brushing, which we'll focus on today as well. How can we introduce those concepts to our animals preventatively when they're little, when they're puppies, so that they grow up to be dogs who are comfortable with nail care lifelong? Or how can we help an animal who's developed a phobia feel more confident and overcome that? So dogs are always forming associations. Whether we like it or not, we are always training the animals that we're working with, because dogs are always forming emotional associations, and they are always keeping track of contingencies, meaning they're keeping track of cause and effect, and how their behavior might be reinforced or punished. So using coercion and force and relying on that can lead to fear, anxiety, and stress. We do not always have a choice. If our animal is very, very sick, we may have to do some things to get a job done quickly, but we have to also be aware that that might mean an animal has formed a negative association. I just worked with a dog this week that had a very painful nail break, and her nail first cracked and then broke off well below the quick, and she required a vet visit. And I had previously done cooperative care training with this dog for a nail care phobia, and she had been able to overcome that. So it was very stressful for the guardian, thinking, oh my gosh, all the work that I put in has been undone. My dog is now going to feel uncomfortable with nail care because we had this really painful experience with the broken nail. But the really cool thing was this dog was way more resilient than we thought she would be, and was able to quickly fall back into her cooperative care training plan. And that to me is success, having that flexibility to be able to, have these predictable patterns. The animal understands what's expected of them during a nail trim. They've learned that this can be an opportunity and not a threat to have their nails trimmed. That's really my training goal when I'm working on these cases. Another factor is animals who display fear, anxiety, and stress at the vet or with their body care are statistically less likely to get preventative care at the vet. There's been research done on fear-free pets on this subject. So that weighs heavy on my heart too as a trainer. I want animals to get care when they need it, and I don't want a guardian to feel nervous to bring their animal to the vet. Animals who are nervous about their care, guardians may delay bringing them in for a visit or not bring them in at all. Sorry to put a creepy picture on the screen, but this is an analogy I want to share. A lot of humans are afraid of dental care, and this is a very common phobia. Some people have to be sedated for dental care. Some of our animals have to be sedated for medical care. And I think a lot about, to help, let's get that scary picture off, how to help our animals and how to empathize with our animals. I think about how scary a dentist visit would be for me if I didn't know why I was there and I didn't know what they were doing to make an appointment. And a really good dentist is aware of the fear levels of their patients and is sharing great information about what they're doing. They might give you a signal you can use if you need a break, like sticking your thumb up or raising your hand. They should be monitoring your comfort throughout the appointment. These are things that we could be doing with our animals too. If I'm nervous at the dentist and I know why I'm there, and I know what health issue I have and I know they're helping, it's actually kind of reasonable that our animals might be nervous about their care too, not knowing why they're at the vet clinic or what's happening to them, or why do you have to trim my nails? Why do you need to brush my teeth? It might feel threatening to the animal. I want to mention too, it's really important to rule out medical issues. So if your animal has suddenly developed a phobia about nail care or ear care, or developed some kind of phobia related to their care, please do a rule out appointment with your vet and make sure that there's not some contributing underlying health factor. Just off the top of my head, when I was making this presentation, I made a short list of some things I've seen in the last year with clients. Sometimes we don't think there's a health issue, but just doing that rule out, no amount of training is going to change the fact that a dog has an undiagnosed ear infection, or maybe they're getting on in age and they're starting to show arthritis. Hip dysplasia. I had a 2-year-old dog last year that I worked with that was diagnosed with early onset, like a genetic predisposition for hip dysplasia, and she required surgery. So thank goodness we found that. Oral health concerns, I frequently see dogs that maybe need a dental or need teeth extractions, and that might present as a dog who's sensitive about having their head touched. So really ruling out those dental health issues. Thyroid disorder, having thyroid issues can affect mood stability. So I saw that one time this last year. And I also had a client whose dog was diagnosed with a degenerative disc disease, and that the way it presented was sensitivity about being moved when resting, and some body handling sensitivity in general. So please just do a rule out. Even if you think, I don't think there's anything wrong with my animal, it doesn't hurt to double check. No amount of training will address that underlying health issue. Okay, so when we're starting a cooperative care training program, let's say our dog is nervous about nail care, they're nervous about teeth brushing, or they're nervous about some aspect of their own care. I like to be able to measure stress levels. That is one of the first things that I teach my clients, that we are going to shoot for low stress handling. We are going to try to keep your dog as comfortable as possible throughout the entire training process. I don't want to see them super stressed out while we're training. We're going to go very slow at their pace. And we will use this scale, my clients and I. This is from Fear Free Pets. And if you want a great resource to learn how to do any number of care tasks at home, Fear Free Pets has some great handouts and guides and videos on their website. This scale is divided in red zone, yellow zone, and green zone. So I like that. It's like a stoplight, a traffic light. It gives us sort of a guide. If we're in red zone, we stop. If we are in yellow zone, we should be slowing down and being very careful. And if we're in green zone, we can keep going with our training session. Red zone could look like fight, flight, fidget, or freeze. That could be a dog who's growling. These are the obvious signs to most guardians, right? A dog who's growling or showing their teeth or posturing. Certainly air snapping or biting, I hope. It doesn't get to that point, but it does, it can. It could look like an extreme flight response, like a dog sees their nail trimmers and they run out of the room. I have some footage later of a person who sent me a video of their dog doing that. It could be a dog who's panting, pacing, hypervigilant, scanning, pupils dilated. Dogs that are in red zone are not going to form positive associations. It could be dangerous to have a dog in red zone. We don't want to get bit during the process of caring for our animal. And really, just for our animal's emotional well-being, it's not healthy for them to be in red zone frequently. So it is my opinion that any dog could bite if they were pushed hard enough, but each dog has their own individual bandwidth for what would send them to red zone. For some dogs, it takes a lot more to do that than others. Yellow zone might be subtle signs your dog is feeling nervous. I have a video I'll show you in a minute of a dog that shows all kinds of signs to communicate really well. It could be just like leaning away a little bit, maybe a little bit of a kind of a concerned look. It could be this dog is suddenly not quite as food motivated as normal, or maybe they're snatching their treats really roughly, and that's unusual for them. We could see licking their lips when they're not necessarily hungry, yawning, just different stress signals that our dog can give us to let us know that they're not feeling their normal, comfortable self. Oops. There we go. Green zone is really where I want dogs to be in my cooperative care training session. So I help clients define, what does green zone look like for your dog? For most dogs, that's loose, wiggly body language and soft muscles. I try to point out when I see those signs in dogs. Tends to be stiff and slow moving. We have a nervous dog, but some flexibility and looseness in the movements. Dogs in green zone can offer their cues reliably. They're excited to do that. They want to earn food. Tends to be dogs we're training with positive reinforcement are offering behaviors to us because they want to keep the training session going. So that's kind of the vibe I'm looking for in a cooperative care session. Sometimes I'll have clients check in with their dog and see if they'll play in between repetitions. That can be a great way to keep yourself honest. If your dog is even a little bit nervous nervous, it's very likely they won't play. So just keeping those sessions short, light, fun, where we have relaxed body language is going to help you make faster progress in the long term. And that means we're going to have to be really thoughtful about breaking training down into little tiny pieces so that dogs can learn about each aspect of their own care and feel comfortable. Okay, so this video clip, this is a really old clip from when I used to work in sheltering. I don't think I'm doing particularly the best job working with this dog in this video. When I look at it now, I think, oh, there's some ways I could have helped this dog be more comfortable. I want to show this because this is a dog that displays lots of behaviors that let you know how he is feeling. This was an owner surrender. This dog could not be groomed, and that was the reason for surrender. Needed to be sedated for all grooming, and did have a bite history associated with his ears. And he had a history of chronic ear infections, which kind of culminated in him developing a phobia. And my goal here at the time was to just figure out which aspect of ear care for this dog is stressful. And all I'm looking at here is the ear cleansing bottle. And if I interact with it, how does the dog feel about me interacting with the bottle? So my goal here is not to touch the dog or try to look in the ears, just see how do you feel about the bottle that you have seen for ear care. So let that play and just kind of watch this dog's body language and see what kind of stress signals you might notice. And also see what kind of comfortable body language you might see at times too. You can hear him shaking off there. You can hear his tags jingling. Okay. What did you see? What kind of stress signals did you see? Think about that. For me, watching this back, I see a lot of stress signals in the dog, and it doesn't take a lot to produce that stress. Me reaching for the bottle and touching the top of it is enough for that dog to anticipate. I'm not sure that I love what's going to happen next. I also see a dog who's very food motivated and wants to keep working in the session. So we see kind of conflictedness in the dog, right? Like wiggling and wagging at some points, but also leaning away, lip licking, pretty quick jump away when I'm reaching for the bottle. So almost like a startle response. That shake off when the dog moves away from me, that can be kind of a tension release for dogs. This dog does a lot of using space, choosing to come forward and choosing to move away. For a dog with a bite history, I'm very thankful this dog chose to move away from me, right? I want to give this dog choices as we're reintroducing ear care. And I'm doing obviously no restraining in this video. I want the dog to be able to vote with their feet. And I'm finding I'm able to get a lot of information from the dog about how they feel about just the bottle of cleanser. Forget about having to flip up the ear flap and examine and be able to touch the inside of the ear or bring a cotton ball towards the ear. We're not even there yet. We're really just working on repairing feelings surrounding the bottle. These are the kind of conversations that I want to be observant enough in my training to have with a dog, I want to be able to get that feedback. And I want to be able to know for this individual dog, how do they show me that they're stressed? So when they are showing me they're stressed, how can I make the session easier or take a break? And if they're super confident and calm, then I'll keep going, or maybe I'll raise the criteria a little bit, and we'll start to make our training scenario look a little bit more like a real care task. Okay. So we're going to be using desensitization and counter conditioning in this training, meaning we're breaking care tasks into little tiny pieces. And that counter conditioning piece means we are pairing the care task with things the dog loves. That could be usually treats, but sometimes play too. I have a video clip showing play as a reinforcer. So I'll give you an idea of what this could look like. This is a dog that has, and all these videos of my clients are videos they've given me permission to share. So just so you know, I don't ever share videos of clients if they respect their privacy. I don't expect anybody to be comfortable with having their training public, but a lot of my clients have been very generous and have said, please use this as an educational tool. So you'll see some that folks have said I could use. This is one of my clients who's worked on a few care tasks with me. Her dog used to have to be pinned down for nail care. Multiple people would lay on top of her. She would panic in response to restraint. And the restraint of the nail care, in my opinion, was probably the aspect of the care that she was most worried about. She did have some concerns about her feet too, but being held down was the biggest challenge. So teaching her how to position herself without needing to be restrained was a lot of what we did for her program. So I'll let you watch this and then I'll talk about it afterwards. Good. I like that head being forward, so I'm going to kind of watch that. Good. A little more duration on that one. I'm going to try the other paw. I'll reach over the top. I did this last time. Good. Good. Very nice job, girl. Good. Okay, a little bit much. So I'm going to try, let's see, I'm going to try to do less. I did a real pinch underneath the paw with my fingers that time. Oh, way more than the other one so far today. We'll see. Good. Good. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Good. Stop biting my finger. Good. Good. It just makes that little realism. It really helped that other dog I was working with to have that. Good. Good. Okay, so that last piece is me cutting spaghetti noodles where the nail is. I'm not cutting the actual nail. I am cutting spaghetti noodles over the top. Some stress signals. Took treats hard towards the end of the session, so we got information about that. Taking treats a little harder than normal, but she was able to hold position still, allow touching of her arm, her front leg rather, kind of starting further away from the paw and sliding towards. We were able to start getting the trimmer close to her nails and able to trim some spaghetti noodles near the nail to create that sound of the nail trim. Each of those pieces were things that we had worked on separately. And this was a session trying to put those skills together to get an actual nail trim done. I was able to transfer these skills to this dog's in-home nail trimmer. They stopped going to the vet for nail care and they decided to try it home where their dog might be a little more relaxed. And they were able to hire a local trainer, a local nail trimmer that provides that in-home service of nail care. And we sent videos and she's able to replicate this at home without having to restrain the dog or lay on the dog. And they've done quite a few nail trims successfully that way since training. Really, it was for this dog, it was about isolating what aspect of nail care is most stressful for you. And for her, it was being pinned down. Now, at one point in this video clip, you saw her pull her paw back, and that really needs to be a way that a dog can say no. watching this back, that might be a time to take a break, to give the dog a break and let them say no. Maybe toss a treat somewhere else and see if they vote with their feet and come back to you. Are they willing to continue on? And I think, especially in the training period, where we're building and working on these skills, giving that dog the ability to say yes and no can be a really helpful way to encourage them to feel comfortable. If they have the way to say no, then it becomes easier emotionally to say yes, because they know there's a way to end the interaction without having to escalate to aggressive behaviors or without needing to feel emotionally unsafe, fearful, anxious. Okay, this was someone who took my cooperative care class. I'll mention that kind of a little bit at the end, what that class looks like. She took a little footage before the class for me on what her dog looked like when she brought the nail trimmer out. And so that's included in this video clip. And you'll see some little clips from her training journey with her dog, how she broke nail care into little pieces. This was a fun client. She's a vet tech, so it was really fun to work with somebody from the medical field.
Okay, I'm gonna show Leonard the nail clippers. So, here we go.
Love it. I in here today. And that's okay. We can always go back a step to touching it, just like you just did, touching the mat. Perfect. And we'll work back up to touching the top of the foot.
Wait. Yes.
Awesome. So good.
Yes. Yes, good boy. Yes.
I was pretty thrilled with that video update after class. Leonard had really big feelings about nail care, didn't want to have anything to do with it, and really was sensitive about his feet being touched. Just see now that they can turn this into a training game and can get this done one nail at a time at home for treats and playing with toys is really impactful. And really, really like warms my heart. I'm so glad that this is now something that these two can do together instead of it being something that the guardian feels like she has to subject her dog to. He was very toy motivated, so you saw a repetition in there in the classroom setting where she would play with him after each rep, and that was super helpful for him. That really, I think, kind of sped up our progress when we learned we don't have to just use treat reinforcers, and that play actually loosens him up a lot and breaks up the intensity of the session to make it more like little pieces of a game. The order that you present consequences in is really important in cooperative care training. We want the care task to make the good thing happen afterwards, so dogs form that good association. So having your paw touched makes the toy come out for you. Having the nail clipper come near you makes treats happen. That's that counter conditioning piece. And this client was really thoughtful about ways to make those good feelings happen for Leonard. Okay. So another just option for nail care is if your dog has a paw cue and they love giving their paw, it could be something where your dog can show you they're ready for the nail care repetition by offering their foot to you. So this is my own dog, Tater, that I showed you at the beginning of the presentation. And Tater had a very severe nail care phobia. He's a big reason why I have so much empathy for my clients working on these issues. I had to sedate Tater for over a year for nail care because his panic was so bad that I could not trim at home. So he had to be brought to the veterinarian and fully sedated to get the job done. And he also needed the help of anxiety medication to work through this phobia. So he was kind of an extreme case, but this is some video of the training that I worked on with him to help him overcome that so we could cooperatively work on his nails together.
Yes. Yes. Yes, good boy.
That was one real trim at the end. We did a
Good
bunch
job.
of warm-ups before the actual trim. For Tater, this was really helpful having a way for him to show me he wanted to do the next repetition. I did not make progress with him until I switched to this method. So he had two ways of showing me he was ready, laying down on the mat and offering the foot. So if he did not do those two things, I sat there patiently and waited. And if he took off, I would respect it. So I had to give him a way of being able to say no to make progress in my program with him. When he knew he could say no, then it made him feel emotionally safe enough to say yes. So it became very clear to him through these repetitions, she doesn't pick up the trimmer unless I lay down on the mat. If I move away, I don't get a treat, but I also don't have to continue being near that nail trimmer. If I offer my foot, it means she's going to touch my foot and a treat is going to happen. So very clear ways for him to say, yes, I want to do this session. No, I do not. Very, very helpful for him to have what's called a start button behavior. Nail filing is also something I do with a lot of my clients. I love to teach dogs to help file their own nails, and this can be a really nice way, even though it might not be the best long-term solution to take care of every single nail, like the dew claws, for example, aren't going to get filed from nail filing. You can teach dogs to file their front and even their back feet, actually, and it can extend the amount of time between trims and buy you more time to work on an actual nail trim or using a Dremel. They sell now these awesome scratchers that you can hide treats inside of. So the dog sees you put food in there, they may want to come and dig on that with their front feet to get the treat, and then you can slide the door open to reveal the treats inside. I've had clients order those and really like them. I like to do things on a budget, so you'll see me using a homemade nail file. I took a big movie theater cup and I cut it in half so it was curved. I kind of like a curved file more for dogs. And I just took 80 grit sandpaper and put it inside of the curved surface of the cup. So what I like about that curved surface is if you look at a dog's paw, it is not shaped so that every nail is flat. They are more arranged in sort of a curved shape on the foot. So that curved file makes it so that each of the nails hit evenly. So me personally, that's what I like to use, is just my homemade movie theater cup with my 80 grit sandpaper. And that's what you're seeing one of my clients use with her dog. In the picture on the right is my homemade invention. Here's just a video clip of what this can look like. This is, again, Tater showing off his nail filing. You can really hear those nails hitting the scratcher. You really, the more we trained, the more intense the scratches got, which I really liked. I liked that there was a little pressure there. Some advice, really watch the nails when you're using a scratcher, a nail file. I have found I get excited when my dogs are doing well and I want to keep going with the session. And if you don't check on those nails, they might be getting shorter faster than you even realize. This can be a very effective way of getting length off of the nails. So every like 4 or 5 scratches, I would take a break and take a peek at the nails and see how we're doing. Certainly don't want to get too close to the quick. You're seeing me use a clicker in this clip. The clicker just marks when the dog's finished with a repetition and their treat is on the way. You can use the word yes or the word good. Certainly just feeding dogs when they do things well is effective as well. But timing some kind of a signal to let your dog know the precise moment they did something you love can help speed up your training a little bit too. So that's called using a marker signal. Okay. So if your dog doesn't have a paw cue, the way I trained Tater is he had a paw cue. You saw it twice, right? You saw the offering the foot for a nail trim and then also extending that foot towards the nail file. That's how I taught it, is I presented my hand, said paw, reinforced. Then I would hold the scratcher over my hand, say paw. If his foot went anywhere towards it, I would tell him he was a good boy or click and give a treat. And then gradually sort of shaped that nail hitting contact is what would make me feed him. And that eventually turned into swiping the nails down. This dog in this video clip did not have a paw cue. And I'll be honest, we tried to teach a paw cue and we were not super successful in our first shaping session. Some dogs are just more, some dogs are just more willing to, you know, use their feet than others. You know, dogs have their own unique talents. So for this dog, we did some pre-shaping. Oh, I think someone forgot to mute. Michelle, if you want to force mute her, you can as the host, if you right click and mute on that participant. I'm going to play this and you'll be able to kind of see what that process looks like for this dog. And here the cup is empty. We don't have a sanding paper in there yet. A really good job of helping her puzzle through it.
Yes.
Look at that clear paw lift. That was gorgeous. Okay, so we'll just give her some more time to think. You can keep using your food lure however you feel is necessary to encourage the lean forward.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Can you sit?
Good.
Yes. Yes. Good girl.
Good job.
Good girl. Yes. Okay. Watch. Yes. Yes.
So I like the timing. Let's maybe start timing for some of those higher paw lifts.
Okay.
Even if she accidentally touches the top of the cup, it's okay. We're getting higher and higher, more intense versions of that paw lift now. It may or may not be more comfortable for her to lift her front leg up from a stand. So if you want to let her naturally stand, you can for this behavior.
Great to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
See how that comes up with just a little more easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yes. Oh, she didn't get. Okay.
Starting to get it.
Yes.
Good. You could also balance it maybe on your knee. Whatever
what
you
you're
need
saying.
to, yeah, whatever you need to stabilize it on. Yeah, it's totally fine.
Here
Go.
All right, ready. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And she's alternating those front paws on her own, so that's great. It's just naturally happening.
Yes. Just kind of going with whatever it was closer. Yes.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. That's how Tater and I used to do it too.
Do I just kind of? Oh yes. Good girl.
That's great. I'll pause that there. You can kind of start hearing the nails make more contact now with the sandpaper. So through that shaping process, we can now start waiting until we actually get that nail contact, and we're feeding for that now instead of just the lifting of the foot. This dog had a hit by car before she was adopted and a long history of recovery and physical body pain, and restraint was a big trigger for her. And this type of nail file training was just a real game changer for her to be able to feel more comfortable using her feet and to be in control of how she positioned her body without being held still for the nail trim. It was really impactful. So that process is called shaping. We're going to accept really tiny little pieces of starting behaviors that might eventually lead towards our finished behavior of a nail file. And this was just one session, her very first session. We were able to make that much progress in one day, which I wouldn't expect for every dog, especially if they're nervous about their feet or have a past phobia. Okay, please don't do this viral trend. I don't know if you have seen these videos online of people wrapping their head in saran wrap and putting peanut butter on it for their dog to lick while they trim their nails. I just have to give a PSA. These show up in my inbox all the time. Don't do this. This is not safe. I don't want your face right next to your dog's face when you're trimming their nails, okay? There are other options to keep your dog busy during a nail trim other than saran wrap around your head and peanut butter. I would recommend, if you are going to use a continuous feeding, for some dogs, this works fine. If they don't have a really severe phobia, you might be able to just kind of distract them during a nail trim. You could use a licky mat, or they do make licky mats with suction cups. You could put some peanut butter, xylitol free peanut butter, or other lickable treats, canned food, little cream cheese. My dog, if you asked him, he would say Cheese Whiz. Use that. So each dog has their own things they enjoy. One of the challenges, though, with this that I just want to warn you about is remember that order of cause and effect. In a lot of the training I do with my clients, we do the nail care first, then the treats happen. If the treat comes out and then we do something scary, and the treat comes out and then we do something scary, you can create the opposite effect where the dog learns, uh-oh, Licky Mac came out. They're going to touch my feet and I don't like that. And you can do what's called poisoning the treat. So the dog has learned that this is actually something to be worried about when the food comes out. And those cases, when I work those, I do work cases like that where dogs, we've tried to distract them through care, but it was so stressful. Now they formed that association. That can be tricky to work through because now we have to go back and repair the dog's relationship with food being used. And that's worrisome for me when just, having the tools that we need to do the job, something as should be as commonplace as food becomes a trigger for anxiety for the dog. So just be careful. If you're still seeing what we talked about, that red zone, yellow zone, green zone, if you're seeing that dog escalate up to a lot of stress while you're trying to distract them with food, I would encourage you to break the task down into smaller pieces and make the food a consequence and see how that goes. General nail care tips. If you do not know how to trim a nail, obviously this presentation it's been designed to address the behavior and feelings end of things, not how to do the nail trim. There's great resources on the Fear Free Pets website showing the anatomy of the nail and where to trim and information about Dremels and clippers and all that good stuff. I recommend frequently trimming small amounts. I think that can be helpful. Don't make this something that we put off. The nails are really long and we feel all this pressure to just like get it all done in this one session. I'm happy. Some of my clients will trim one nail and throw a party. I love that. Like, let's get one nail done. And, we might feel all this pressure that we have to trim as close to the quick as possible. Just trim a little. If you and your dog are more comfortable trimming a tiny little bit off and doing trims more frequently, to help those quicks recede a little bit, do that way. Break it down into little pieces. In a perfect world, their nails should not be touching the floor and they should not be weight bearing, right? And dogs with really, really long nails, it can affect the way they walk, and that can be unhealthy for them orthopedically. So in a perfect world, their nails shouldn't touch the floor. So the short, frequent trims will help you get to that goal. Make sure your clippers is sharp. This is a common one. If the clippers is dull, it can be kind of awkward getting it through the nail and it can feel uncomfortable and the nail might chip or flake off. So I like to use a really sharp trimmers. I really like the Miller's Forge. Sometimes people ask me about equipment. I really like the Miller's Forge red handled sharp clippers myself. If you're using a Dremel, pick a quiet one is my recommendation. Something quieter. They make these really nice Dyma Groove Dremel bits that do a really nice job. Make sure you're not leaving that Dremel on the nail too long because it gets hot. So really short amounts of exposure to that. And if you are using a Dremel, sometimes I find with my clients, we have to do some work with the sound of the Dremel, helping them feel comfortable with that before we even think about getting it close to their feet or having them hold a position. Okay, teeth brushing. Oh gosh, and I see we're at 10:21. I think I have an hour, right, Michelle? Is that? I think so. I'm getting close to the end. So
you can go over into an hour,
okay,
hour and a half questions.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good. I was making sure I'm on track. Teeth brushing is really important. I will admit, guys, if you're feeling guilty with me saying that, I do not brush my current dog's teeth as often as I should. I brush them very infrequently. Instead, I'm paying to do dentals regularly, and it is very expensive. And when I think about the vacations I could have gone on with the amount of money I've spent on dentals every year. So I'm laughing as a trainer thinking, gosh, like I understand how my clients feel about some of these tasks being things you put off. We can train our dogs to feel comfortable with teeth brushing. Oral health is so linked to the rest of our body's health. Heart health is very linked to oral health. We can help our dogs have healthier lives by taking good care of their teeth. So I see this as an important skill, but one that we, don't want to create extra fear or phobia surrounding. This is the same dog that we did the nail care training on earlier, Mickey. This client, when we had success with that, thought, well, what else can we make easier with training? How about teeth brushing? So I thought, this is great. Let's work on it. So I'm going to play this clip for you so you can see some of the little steps that we used to get her comfortable with us placing our hand over the top of her snout, lifting her lips up, making contact with the teeth with the brush, and so on.
Beautiful. This looks so much better when you do it. I think you should keep handling. So good. Her little eyes are pointed right up at you, understanding that next treat's gonna come. Oh yeah. Body language looks good. She even lined herself up over the licky mat on that one. Really nice. Very good. Really nice. Good. Brush. Nice. Okay, can we try to come back in with that other hand again and see how it looks? Keep using the brush cue. Brush. Nice. Okay. Feel like we're getting somewhere. Brush. 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 Beautiful. Brush. Nice. Brush. Great. Brush. Love it. I love how you got a little closer with it. I think she was ready for it. Brush. Good. Nice. Do you think you could maybe try just jump? Brush. Can't see what you're doing. Beautiful. Good job. Brush. Good. Excellent.
I'm going to end on that rep. What you didn't see in the session with those cuts is taking breaks. So we took a lot of breaks. This was an hour divided down into little training chunks. This dog loves to play. She loves puzzle toys. So she had toys and puzzle toys around the training studio. And we used this platform to get her up closer to where the guardian was, but also as a way for her to be able to say, yes, I'm ready to keep working on this. So we allowed her to jump back up on the platform whenever she was ready to continue earning treats and work on her teeth brushing. I really like how this guardian did such a good job not pushing her dog too hard. We did a good job talking between reps of how much we were going to do. We slowly brought the toothbrush into it. We slowly brought the toothbrush closer to the mouth. Even before we had the toothbrush in the hand, we slowly worked towards being able to get that second hand close to the mouth. Those are all things dogs are going to notice during their care. And if we can introduce it gradually and pair it with treats, they're going to learn this is an opportunity, not a threat. I just think it's awesome that she's able to get routine dental care at home and feel comfortable about that process. Muzzle training. I am a huge fan of muzzle training. I think every dog should wear a muzzle. I know I'm a weirdo because I'm a dog trainer. That might seem like a strange thing, like, oh gosh, if my dog's never had a history of aggression, why did they need a muzzle? Learning how to wear a muzzle, you never know when your dog might need it. When I worked in my sheltering career, sometimes I would respond to emergencies where dogs had an unexpected accident, and I felt very guilty thinking, gosh, I hope this isn't this dog's first exposure to a muzzle. I hope that I'm not introducing this tool on the worst day of their life. So preventatively teaching your dog to feel comfortable wearing a muzzle in case they do get injured or experience a lot of pain. It might be an understandable bite risk if they're experiencing unprecedented health event might be helpful. But I like them for a lot of the clients I work with because having a dog muzzled oftentimes means we can do less restraint more safely because we don't want to not do restraint at the expense of human safety. I want vet techs and veterinarians to be safe. I want your groomer to be safe. I want you to be safe. I don't want you to be at risk of getting bitten by your dog. I like a basket muzzle that allows the dog to use their mouth inside the muzzle. I want them to pant and breathe freely. There's certainly a place for a nylon muzzle, but they can't be used long term. So you place a nylon muzzle for vet care, you keep that on for a very short amount of time because the dog can't breathe fully or pant fully with it on. I believe we need to do work destigmatizing muzzles and learning and sharing that muzzles are helpful training tools. They do have to be introduced slowly though, so I'll show you that. And I'll show you some of my favorite brands. I work with muzzles a lot in the work that I do. And there's certain brands that tend to fit certain types of dogs better. Here's some just training clips here showing muzzle acclimation. This is a shelter dog that I worked with, and you'll see how we used it for cooperative care tasks for him. I'll actually talk over this one. So we started just by holding the muzzle still and feeding through it. And I did this every day for a week. So I wasn't strapping him into the muzzle. I just put that on top of my thigh. It is his choice if he wants to push his face in. Clearly here he is doing that on his own. He's earning a lot of treat rewards for that. This is week 2. Every day for a couple minutes a day, I would have him eat out of the muzzle, which at this point he had good associations with, and I would get him used to me leaning over the top of him and placing the straps around his head. And I just wanted him to learn that the straps are not scary and that it's a normal thing for me to lean over the top of him while I am holding the muzzle. This was his first time strapped into the muzzle. I did not keep him in here very long. I lure him around with a couple treats. I ask him to do a sit, and I take the muzzle right off. I don't want this to be scary. I don't want it to escalate to him pawing to get it off. I just want him to experience what it feels like to move through space a little bit with this weird thing on his head. This dog loved walks. So if he wanted to start his walk, I would drive him to a trail. He had to muzzle up in the backseat of my car, and then I would let him leave the car and start the walk. We would start with wearing it for 30 seconds on the walk, and I increased time from there. This is a bath at the shelter. This was his first bath. I'm nice and safe. He's comfortable enough to eat treats. He's not loving the bath. His tail is down. He sorely needed a bath. So I'm able to get the job done safely. He's able to have a bath where he can earn lots of treats and start to learn it's okay. This is him drinking wearing the muzzle. So you can see how much room he has in there to be able to drink and pant. I have a little vet wrap over the end of it just to create a little cushion on his nose. So that's what that little red piece was, is just some cushion I added for him. He liked to sniff on his walk, so I wanted him to be able to do that without scratching up the top of his snout. Not every muzzle comes with a nose or a snout rest, so if you buy one of the cheaper muzzles like a Baskerville Ultra, you can make little modifications to it to make it more comfortable for your dog. Some other brands that I really like. These are ones I've had firsthand experience with my clients and have had really good feedback. If you have a dog who needs to wear a muzzle often, it may be worth getting a custom muzzle. If your dog has an unconventional face shape, that can be helpful. With Scotties, you know, I'll be honest, the little breeds don't always get the nicest muzzle options. So some of the smaller dogs like Scotties, you might find that it's actually more difficult to find a great fit that allows plenty of pant room. It does seem to me a lot of the companies, which is kind of understandable, they cater towards large dogs. I think more people are concerned about bite risk with larger dogs. So it's why we spend more resources making big dog muzzles. But something like Mia's muzzles, they can custom fit a muzzle to your dog. So your dog's exact dimensions, this is made to fit perfectly, and they really prioritize pant room. You can see that dog on the left has plenty of room in that muzzle to drop his jaw all the way down. Muzzle movement is that middle muzzle. They might be slightly large for Scotties. The size Rex, I'm wondering like a large Scottie might fit in their size Rex. That's the smallest muzzle they make. I really like them. I really, really like Mia's muzzles. They're cheap compared to the custom muzzles, so I like affordable. They come in these really fun colors. There's a handful of colors for the basket part, and there's like 30 something colors for the straps. So a lot of my clients feel better using a muzzle if it looks a little softer and more friendly. So that's a great company for that. And Trust Your Dog also makes custom muzzles. They're made out of biothane. The thing about those is they're not 100% bite proof. A dog could technically pinch bite through it a little bit. It's going to reduce damage done in a bite and prevent some bites. But if a dog was extremely determined to bite, that's not necessarily the safest option. So I just want to point that out too. Just some ways to, in general, make visits to the vet or groomer more comfortable for your dog. You could do happy visits or victory visits if your vet team or groomer are comfortable with that. Some will charge for that service, some will not. I think it's worth every penny charging for that service. Your vet team and grooming team, their time is valuable. Bring plenty of treats. Bring what your dog likes. Know what your dog likes and bring plenty of treats. I tell people small, stinky, special. So lots of little pieces, because you could see in the videos, we go through a lot of them. I like to use something that has a strong odor. Dogs love that. Chicken, cheese, something like that. And something special, something high value, something they really love. If your dog doesn't guard resources, and if they're comfortable using a licky mat and they're moderately comfortable with the procedure, licky mat, Kong, or topple toy, some kind of enrichment toy can be great. I like to bring a grippy mat for either the stainless steel table at the vet or the floor, because I have found a lot of clinics have ceramic tile floor, which is kind of slippery for dogs, and having unstable footing can sometimes add to the anxiety picture for dogs. So I like to bring a familiar grippy mat. It doesn't have to be anything special, an old yoga mat or even a grippy bottom rug that your dog has associated with good things can be nice. And proactively share information with your vet. What body parts is your dog sensitive about? Give them a heads up. They will appreciate knowing. Please share. If you're taking your dog to grooming and your dog is sensitive about their ears, share that. What cues does your dog know? Share the cues that your dog knows with the team. There might be something there that they could use. And there might be some over-the-counter calming aids that can help too, like a pheromone spray. You could maybe spray in the car, on the car ride there, or on your clothing. A lot of the vet clinics spray Adaptil, or now it's called Thunderease, on their scrubs each day, or have it diffusing in the clinic. There's over-the-counter calming aids that can be helpful. You could ask your vet for recommendations on ways to make your visits more fear-free. And just some other resources I want to share before I do questions. The Fear Free Pets website it's designed for dog guardians. It's designed to be accessible information, great handouts, great videos. Sophia Yin's Low Stress Handling website and Cattle Dog Publishing has a lot of really great information on cooperative care. Deb Jones wrote a really awesome book for dog guardians on cooperative care, and she has a nail care course that is excellent. Even though I'm a professional trainer, I took that course with Tater. I said, I need a professional to help me, because when it's your own dog, sometimes it's just, helpful to have an outside opinion. A lot of my dog training colleagues talk about how they really find it helpful to get another trainer's opinion when it's your own pet, because it can be hard to be unbiased about your own animal. Karen Pryor Academy has a Better Vet Visits online course. That's really great too. I offer group classes on this subject. I limit it to 4 dogs per class. I have another session starting May 5th at 3:30, which is a Sunday if anyone's interested. And honestly, just like finding a certified trainer or a consultant, or finding a fear-free or low-stress handling vet practice can be really helpful too. You'll be connected to caring professionals that want to help you, help your dog have the most positive experience possible with their care. Great. So that concludes my presentation. I would love to hear what questions you guys have. And I was not looking at chat at all. I'm so sorry. I'll check there and see if there's some questions. Yeah, good job, you guys, noticing the stress signals. Yeah, the sneeze. Thank you for pointing that out. I don't think I mentioned that, or no. Yeah, sneezing can also be a big stress signal. How do you teach dogs to scratch their back paws? I have a video I can show you on that. That is a really good question. Let me pull up the back paw. Actually, I'm going to use, I don't think Deb Jones would have a problem with me sharing her video because it's public. She has an excellent video with her dog Star. That shows exactly how you would teach them to file the back nails. I've done this with clients before. We don't have sandpaper on it yet, but you can see this platform with carpet on it. That's what's holding the place of the back nail file. You could take a piece of wood and attach some sandpaper to it once the behavior is known. But I appreciate why she started with this little platform instead. Might be more comfy for the dog.
Back foot. I have this set up. This is the first time I'm working on the back feet. This isn't a scratch board yet, it just happens to be a platform I have. I'll switch to a scratch board once we get this on the platform. So I've got this set. And I'm gonna lure her up over it to stretch. And then I wanna mark when her back feet touch the board. Start, easy. Good. Good, good, good. Good, good.
Ooh.
You can see that. Good. Easy, easy. Good, good. I want to keep her stretching and scratching without jumping up. Good, good. So that's good. The beginnings. Oh, good. Of
Okay.
actually.
So that hopefully that gives you a nice idea of one way to shape it. I love Deb Jo. I can't recommend her enough. She has made cooperative care a huge area of focus in her career, and her resources are really, really good. I highly recommend any of her stuff, her book or her course, or there is a cooperative care training group on Facebook that she moderates as well. A lot of really good resources. Yeah, thanks, Jody. Yeah, the licky mat on the platform, I did like that for that dog. Yeah, and if it's associated with food, in that case, we're going so slow, it's helping the dog form positive associations. Seeing the licky mat show up, it kind of gives the dog some context, right? Like, what are we working on? And yeah, makes it easier to keep things clean and keep the treats contained so they're not rolling all over the place. I am a chronic treat dropper, and I sympathize with my clients that feel clumsy. I feel that way sometimes too, even though I'm a professional trainer. I like the licky mat as a station. What if your dog is not treat or toy driven? That is such a good question. Dogs have varying degrees of motivation for different things. A lot of things that I would explore if my dog is not super treat motivated. I might explore what types of treats might motivate my dog that I have not tried. Fear Free Pets has a top 10 treats of all time list that can be a fun place to start. Think outside the box. I would recommend you try to think really creatively. Have we tried white meat chicken? I had one client that would cook up steak for their dog and feed steak as treats, like little teeny tiny pieces. For my dog, Morty, Cheese Whiz was a huge discovery. He is generally a food motivated dog, but Cheese Whiz is like the holy grail of treats. He thinks that's the best thing in the world. Unconventional treats. I have had dogs enjoy all kinds of odd things that I wouldn't expect them to like. Sometimes if a dog doesn't seem food motivated during cooperative care, it can mean that we might be asking too much. So not being super motivated at the vet might speak more to that fear that they might have. So if they are suddenly not food motivated in a context, that might give me information about setting the appropriate pace. In terms of toy motivation, there's a really great course through Denise Fenzi Academy from Amy Cook. She usually calls it Train the Play Way, but there's like a variety of courses that she teaches where she teaches you how to increase toy motivation in dogs that don't start out being toy motivated. It is fascinating. She has spent a huge part of her career working on building toy motivation. That's a really, really great class if you want to take a class where you really expand your dog's motivation for toys. Like Leonard, the video I showed with Leonard, he's working for toys was a really big deal for him. So yeah, those might be a couple tips for you, 3 different things to think about. Good, Janine, I'm glad that was helpful. Yeah, working on the floor versus working on a platform or on a better chair. This is such a good question. And I'd have to be really thinking about each individual case to decide. What I like about platforms, let's just start with that because I use platforms a ton. That platform you saw Mickey on for teeth brushing, I use that for a lot of things at the training studio. I like having some really clear place for the dog to go to show me they're ready. So whether that's a platform or a mat, it could be a towel. My cat, I do cooperative care training with one of my cats for grooming him. And I just it's just a ratty old towel. It is nothing special. It's the same towel every time, but it's just like a ratty old towel. It is his towel. I lay it on the floor in front of me. He knows right away when he sees that towel come out what we're doing. So I'm not trying to trick him in any way. He has good associations with it. He knows his grooming mitt is going to be there, and those context cues help him know what to expect, which I think is helpful. Platforms are nice because they're elevated. So if we're working on something where having access to the dog's body higher up to us would help us do the care task, like nail care, for example. I find a lot of my clients, and even myself sometimes, have a hard time getting all the way down on the floor. So having a platform can bring the nails up to you, and it can cut down on some of the looming over the dog that can be kind of scary for some dogs. That can be kind of threatening to have a person like leaning all the way over the top and reaching. I want to be sensitive about that when I'm working with dogs. If the dog has a history of issues at the groomer, working on elevated surfaces, working on your ottoman at home, teaching them to feel comfortable being lifted up to an elevated surface, maybe put a grippy yoga mat down or something like that, can be helpful. It just really depends on the dog, but yeah, preparing a specific place that's easy for you to use and your dog has associated with good things is kind of the general thing I think about.
Cari, can you reiterate your development of the nail scratching thing on the half of the?
Yeah.
How do you apply the sandpaper to the cup itself? Can you just go over how to do that?
Sure. Yeah. So there's a number of ways to do it. I'll be honest, my scratcher doesn't even have the sandpaper attached. I just hold the plastic cup with it bent inside. And if I want to replace the sandpaper, I just pull it out. I have had a couple of clients take a staple gun and staple in a place where their dog is unlikely to make nail contact and attach it that way. I had one client glue it to a wood board for the back nails. And I think I had another client glue actually to the cup. They also sell scratch pads. They sell these scratch ramps. So if you don't want to be making your own at home, you can buy an already made one too. I've seen videos of other trainers using curved PVC pipe cut in half. And I just think my movie theater cup is cheaper and easier to do. No special equipment, kitchen shears and a plastic cup that would have ended up in the trash anyway. And
what was the grade
sandpaper
that you used?
So between 40 and 80 is what I typically use. 80 is what I normally start with. My own scratcher that I've used for my own dogs is 80 grit, but somewhere in the 40 to 80 family seems to be good. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Those are great questions. Yeah, the nail filing is just one of those work smarter, not harder things. And for dogs that don't want you touching their feet and manipulating their toes in the early stages of training, I find that it helps to just take that piece out altogether for a while and build up some other positive feelings about their feet being used in other ways in training. And gives them control.
How would you feel, or how would you suggest someone handling the situation if they have their dog groomed by a groomer and they're allowed to be there, or sometimes they're allowed to be there to either calm the dog or they have to go because them being there is a distraction for the dog.
Yeah.
But how would you suggest an owner handling that if the breeder is not sensitive enough to back off and give the dog some space and more time?
Yeah, how to navigate grooming, working with a grooming professional. So, gosh, I have so much admiration and respect for groomers that are putting themselves in these tough positions with dogs, right? Like grooming is really stressful for a lot of dogs. Groomers are in danger of getting bitten. They may be motivated to handle dogs a certain way defensively to prevent themselves from getting bitten. I want my groomer to feel comfortable with my animal, and I want to work with them. But I also want to advocate for my dog, right? I want to advocate for my dog's comfort. You mentioned some groomers are comfortable with you being at the appointment to comfort the dog. You could be kind of the treat feeder and you could give some input on what's easier or hard for your dog, feeding treats, being there for emotional support. I love it when groomers allow that. And I've worked collaboratively with some folks, sending them video clips or asking like, do you want me to come to an appointment? Some groomers are very welcoming of that. And some are like, no, I think I got it, Cari, thanks. So it kind of depends on the professional. I don't want to step on toes, but I want to be a good advocate. You're right. You mentioned some groomers will recommend the guardian leave. Sometimes some dogs do better when their owner's not there. In general, the fear-free movement really like wants guardians to be hands-on and participate as much as they can. So most fear-free groomers would be cool with you trying to be there if it helps, or being on standby. I think giving your groomers are under this pressure to like do this beautiful flawless groom job the exact way you pictured in your mind, right? And to get it done in one session. And I think another maybe good tip is to tell your groomer you're okay with a partial groom. Now, some of you might be thinking, Cari, I'm not actually okay with a partial groom. I don't want my dog walking around looking funny. If you're having to do some kind of hair trimming or cutting, that type of grooming. But I personally would rather pay for multiple visits in the early stages of a training program while my dog builds comfort and have them walk around looking a little funny for a little bit, rather than forcing it and then digging this hole that you have to dig yourself out of because your dog's continuing to form more negative associations. You can search for fear-free groomers that are certified on the Fear-Free Pets website. So there's not a ton of fear-free groomers out there, but they may be worth it to find if it's something that's really important to somebody and their dog. And it's okay to try another groomer and see who vibes well with your dog. Not every animal professional and every dog have the same connection with each other. So I think that's okay to do too, to shop around a little and see who's a good fit for you and your animal.
Yeah.
Does that kind of answer your question? I kind of took it from a few different angles.
Is there the website for the fear-free? Is there an organization for that, or?
Yeah, there is. I'm going to look up the URL for you right now. I think it's just Fear-Free Pets, but I want to just double check and make sure. Yeah, it's fearfreepets.com.
Okay, great.
Yep, fearfreepets.com. I like using them as a resource. They have really, really great stuff. Yeah, this is a really great question or comment from Janine. I think when going to the vet, it's hard to do cooperative care when they literally just take the dog back at times. Just a thought, and this has made me think of ways to get my guys who have had too much vet lately. I'm sorry to hear that, Janine. To be more willing to go back without me. Yeah, that is totally the preference of some clinics to take dogs to the back. A lot of the vets that practice fear-free will try to keep the dog in the room with you for what they can. There are some dogs that do legitimately do better without the owner present. Cases like I have some dogs that are territorial and they will protect the space around their owner quite a bit. So those dogs tend to do better. Like, we're going to go somewhere else away from your owner and get this done. But a lot of dogs do better with the owner present helping, especially if you've done some prep work at home. I like what Janine said, like introducing your dog to a muzzle ahead of time, introducing them to what a syringe looks like, introducing them to different ways of handling their body, introducing them to some light restraint, practicing bear hugs at home and offering treats. It's going to make those care tasks feel more familiar to your animal. So even if you're not the one doing it and it's happening in the back room, it increases your chance of your dog being slightly more comfortable with it. In my cooperative care class, I teach a part 1 and a part 2. I did some advanced students last week, and we worked on smells. We put the smell of rubbing alcohol that you would use during a blood draw on a cotton ball, and we had happy things happen around it. And we paired the syringe with the smell of rubbing alcohol nearby with treats. Just thinking about like, what are all those little things that might come up in my dog's life can be helpful. And of course, starting as a puppy makes all of this easier. I think every puppy should do cooperative care training so we can set them up for a lifetime of more comfortable care, even if it happens in the back room when you're not there. Toothpaste or powder and how to increase acceptance with that. Yeah, so we're going to be adding toothpaste to that toothbrush in training. And how do we do that? Dog sense of smell is so beyond human relatability. The smells of stuff, and we know this, right? Dogs excel in nose work. They can do odor detection. They can find smells that are buried underground. Isn't that just amazing? That's amazing to me that dogs have this amazing nose. And I go through life not thinking about smells my dog is experiencing, being probably our dogs probably think we're kind of oblivious, maybe, because I'm sure they're taking in information all the time that we don't even know what they're sniffing or smelling. So the smell of toothpaste might be strong to them. So letting them be near the toothpaste tube with it open, having treats happen with the smell, and then of course working up with taste. They do make flavored toothpaste. So you could pick a flavor that your dog might like. I have some liver flavored toothpaste at my house for my dog. So that might help make the acceptance piece of that a little easier to pick a flavor you think your dog might like. Hopefully yeah, you're welcome.
Cari?
Yeah.
Cari?
Mhm.
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
A couple of things I did. I have a dog that's very easy to brush her teeth.
Great.
I mean, she knows. She just comes over, I just say teeth, and she comes and lays her head on my chest. Though she's a small dog, she don't
Wonderful.
bark, but she
Yeah.
likes it. But I started out with poultry or liver, that CET toothpaste or whatever it is. She hates the meat flavors. So she would
good
always
point.
go back. Because anything that has that artificial, so with anybody else's dog, any of that artificial meat flavor things, some dogs are just kind of turned off by it. She doesn't even like treats that have that in
That's
it.
a great point.
So they do make one called the vanilla mint. And for her, it smells like something that doesn't come out any other time except for her teeth. And I started with just getting it on my finger and letting her kind of smell it and kind of lick my finger to begin with, just so she had the taste of that. And then I took my finger and just started using it in her mouth first before I started putting the actual baby toothbrush. I mean, she's really tiny.
Yeah.
So she uses a baby toothbrush
Oh,
into
that's
her.
so great.
So it took a while to do that, but she knows that when that toothpaste comes out, she comes trotting over. I said, "You want to do your teeth?" And she goes, and I put on my finger first and she licks a little bit and then we're ready to go. So just kind of look at some of those. Everybody thinks the dogs don't like poultry or liver or beef or whatever. Not all dogs are turned on, but she
Yeah,
loves
that's
the
so
mint,
great.
vanilla mint.
Good tips. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. Reinforcement is defined by the learner. This is something that's important to remember. Dogs get to decide what's reinforcing to them. So just because I think something sounds like it should be reinforcing to them doesn't necessarily mean the dog's going to love it as much as I think. So letting your dog dictate what flavors they are most motivated by is a super awesome training tip. I love that. And you just reminded me of another thing too with sharing about using your finger. They make a toothbrush that is like a silicone sleeve that can go over your finger and has little nubbies on it. So if your dog is scared of the actual full length toothbrush, or some of them, they make little shorty toothbrushes for pets, you could use the silicone sleeve. Just make sure it stays attached to your finger and it doesn't end up loose in the dog's mouth. That is going to be my caution for you. We don't want to have a foreign body issue with your dog bringing that into their mouth and swallowing it. But yeah, the little finger brushes can be great too. Okay, you tried peanut butter and it wasn't to win. Peanut butter flavored toothpaste. It is so interesting to me what different dogs are motivated by and what they like and don't like. I had a dog when I worked at the shelter. I'll never forget him. I was trying to find something he was motivated by, and didn't like hot dogs, didn't like cheese. I thought, who doesn't like hot dogs and cheese? And I called the previous owner and shared some of the behavior challenges we were working on and mentioned this to him. And he said he loves milk bones. And I'm thinking, milk bones? My dog would see a milk bone and be like, what in the world? I'm not eating that. And sure enough, I go to the dog's kennel with a milk bone and he gobbles it up. And I'm thinking, my goodness, how humbling. I wouldn't put milk bones at the top of most dogs' favorite treats list, but for that dog, the sun rose and set on milk bones. That was his favorite thing. So we got to work with our learner to figure out what they like. What do you think of water additives for dental care or liquid dental care? So I don't want to give medical advice. I do know veterinarians that recommend those. I would ask your vet. Do you think water additives are a good are a good thing to be adding to my dog's dental care routine? I know my clinic sells those products, so I definitely know there's veterinarians who endorse them and really like them. I have not personally used water additives though. maybe I should
I can
consider.
chime in on that piece.
Great.
I have 3 Scotties, and I was doing the addition of the pet lab companies enzyme stuff that you add to the water.
Mhm,
But when you have 3 dogs, who's using it, and you have to change the water so much,
mhm.
I had trouble, trying to figure out was it going to be doing any good or not.
Yeah.
I had like 5. I just did this again. Sorry. I had like 5 bottles of this stuff that I had stocked up.
Mm,
Well, I changed over to the powder that you sprinkle on their food, and the company was good enough to just do an exchange for me, so I didn't lose any money.
nice.
So I
Oh,
feel like
that's
that's
great.
doing better for my kids.
That's great.
And we'll see. I've only been doing that for about a month now, so I'm waiting to see how much of a difference it's going to make.
That's good feedback. And one other thing to mention, you mentioned liquid dental care. What I think you mean by that, Suzanne, is products like Oravet, which are like a gel that you can put over their teeth. So again, I don't want to give medical advice, but you could ask your veterinarian about those options. I know the vet clinic that I use sells Oravet. And they've recommended that as like a kind of more of a preventative after you have a dental done. Like, how do you extend the amount of time between dental cleanings so that a dog doesn't have to be put under frequently for that, if it can be prevented. Somebody mentioned my vet says nothing replaces brushing, and yeah, brushing is going to be the most effective way to keep good dental hygiene and cut down on plaque and tartar. And certainly, like when we get infected teeth and stuff like that, teeth that need to be extracted, that can really have an impact on the dog's whole body, to be dealing with infection. So it's really good to stay on top of this stuff and help your dog learn to feel comfortable. If your dog likes it, you're going to do it more often, right? It's not going to feel like some care task that you're dreading.
Right.
So that is really the gift of cooperative care.
The other piece I want to share is in our first year, I think it was our second Zoomy that we did, Dale Cresson, who is a veterinary dental diplomat from Oshkosh, who lives in
Yeah,
Florida part of the time. He did a Zoomy for us on dental care.
great.
So unfortunately, I didn't get I forgot to hit the record button, so I don't have the whole thing on. But we have a good half of his presentation on. So again, if you go to our website, you'll be able to find that in the list of Zoomies listed.
Oh, that's great. This is a wonderful resource that you have created. I
Yeah.
love this.
And Dale's a huge fan of the work that we've been doing. He used to come to the rally actually and do dental screenings.
Oh,
Which
how nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good. Well, you guys have been a wonderful group. I have really enjoyed your questions. Thank you for participating in this. And I should have put my information up, in the chat. I'm just going to type
Perfect.
my email. It's Cari@trainbettertogether.com. So if anybody has a follow-up question, I would welcome that. If you would like to email me a question, I'd be happy to email you back and try to connect you to a resource or send you a link. If there was something in the presentation I mentioned and you want to know where you can go to learn more about that, I'd be happy to point anyone in the right direction.
Great. Thank you so much, Cari. It was an awesome presentation.
Thank you.
For those of you, while you're still online, please remember to think about making a donation to help us support programs like this. You can do that again at our website, and we also take payments via Zelle and PayPal. All right. Thank you very much, you guys. Again,
Awesome.
Cari, thank you, and send me your invoice, okay?
Okay, sounds
All right.
good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.